Now, we were up when we first saw the buildings burning before they collapsed, and we did witness the buildings collapsing. And I'm telling you, I saw it on television. I saw it with the naked eye. It is something that I will never forget for the rest of my life. I've seen a lot of things which have been very upsetting. There is something about just watching them collapse upon themselves which was just overwhelming. The first building really kind of looked like an implosion. It fell into itself, and then not too long after that, we watched the second building, which was Tower 1, very closely. Tower 1, of course, was the first building hit. It was hit a little higher than the second building, and so it took a little longer to collapse. And we saw it first buckle, and then it did collapse upon itself as well. It looked again like an implosion, and it just came raining down. Before the actual implosion, we saw a lot of debris falling from the building, and sadly, people jumping from windows to get away from the actual fire, I suppose. It was a very, very upsetting sight. And now, of course, watching Manhattan, lower Manhattan, still on fire, still burning, it is still a very devastating sight. Now, the smoke is going mostly straight up in the air, but it is blowing somewhat to the east and towards the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, towards the Gowanus as well. Very good idea to keep your windows closed. It's hard to say what is in that smoke besides, of course, the jet fuel and all the other noxious fumes. Some of the buildings may have had asbestos in them. The buildings, of course, were sealed with the asbestos, but they were still in some of the basements of the buildings. So, of course, it's a very good idea to keep those windows closed. And, of course, if you're on the roads this morning, it's a very good idea to keep your windows closed. Speaking of the roads, there are very few cars on the roads out here in New Jersey where we are sitting. We are over the New Jersey Turnpike right now. The roads are basically deserted. We only see a few cars, and again, it seems most people have sought shelter of some sort, gone to someplace that they felt is safe, and are not driving this morning, which is probably a good idea at this point. All of the crossings in and out of Manhattan are closed. We understand a lot of people are hoofing it, are actually walking on foot across the Brooklyn Bridge right now, trying to get away from this scene. It is a good idea to stay away from the scene. This is not a time for sightseeing. They won't let you anywhere near down there anyway. And of course, rescue workers definitely need their space to be able to do what they need to do. That right there is people walking across the Manhattan Bridge. It's hard to see because of where we are, but trust me, there are a lot of people making their way across the Manhattan Bridge out of Manhattan just trying to get away from this scene. And, of course, we do have a lot of rescue workers on the scene. We have a lot of EMT workers, a lot of firefighters, a lot of American Cross. If you're looking for something to do to help, here's a few basic things you can do. First of all, don't turn on your water. Turn off your washing machine. Turn off your dishwasher. They need all the water pressure they can get. Also, you can always call the American Red Cross and volunteer. You can always give blood. These are things you yourself can do. Speaking of water pressure, they are using a very unique piece of firefighting equipment to actually battle this blaze. It's called the Firefighter, and it is actually a boat. This boat is capable of sucking water directly out of the river, which is good in case there are some problems with the water mains because of these explosions. This boat sucks the water out of the river and then pumps it to another pumper. It can do 11,000 gallons of water per minute, and then they do what's called a relay pump. It goes from pumper to pumper to pumper to pumper in order to get water onto this fire. Also involved in this are some tugboats volunteering their services as well. What you may not realize is that some of the older tugboats actually are able to suck water out of the rivers themselves, and you can hook hoses up to those tugboats and get water onto the fire that way as well. So it's nice to see such a volunteer effort here and so many people coming together to actually battle this. Now, as far as air traffic goes, as we mentioned, we are the only helicopter, the only news helicopter up in this part of the country as far as we know, and again, there are no other aircraft allowed up except for the military and for rescue operations as well.